This is a public interest announcement. You are now inside a free speech zone where speaking the truth is encouraged. Corrupt governments frown on people learning the truth about government wrongdoing, but they are powerless to stop people speaking. Learning the truth is completely legal, but it can take guts to speak it. Speaking truth can seem like a revolutionary act, especially if you are demonized for it. But when surrounded by people who value free speech, most people will find it easier to speak the truth. Courage is contagious. Enjoy your time in the Sydney Town Hall Free Speech Zone.
Yay!
Thank you.
Folks, it's pretty simple. When public officials commit crimes, huge frauds, embezzling, start wars on bunches of lies, massacre thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of they don't want the truth to come out. Well, you can understand, they don't want to end up in Gitmo getting a little bit of enhanced interrogation themselves. So they seek to criminalise it, they seek to outlaw it. And they've got a lot of tricks. One of the tricks is they just murder the journalists in the war zone so the truth can't come out or reporting can't come out. I think the Israelis have been very good at this. I think they've killed hundreds of journalists in Gaza that weren't approved or weren't embedded with the military. But it's just, it's a problem which goes back to Greece and probably 7,000 years before. You'll remember Socrates, probably the most famous man in antiquity, who was prosecuted for having views that the corrupt establishment, political establishment didn't like, and they convicted him, found him guilty. When they asked him what he thought his penalty should be, he said, free meals for life. And of course, they didn't see the irony in that, but they compelled him to take hemlock and kill himself, probably because none of them had the courage to kill one of the most popular and beloved men in Athens at that time. But it's still the same. It's all about control of the information that people get, and then people can be tricked into going into wars, and they can be tricked to hate other racial groups. And they don't want debate. They want to control all of the information people get, so they don't get wise to the fact that we're being tricked into division, we're being tricked into wars, and we're being tricked out of our money, because at the end of the day, this is about swindling and it's about power. It's about power, profit, and control. So the only way we're going to get any justice in this world is to stand up for free speech and free criticism. Everything in the world should be subjected to criticism, because you can't make the world a better place without criticism. Well, when the government decides to make it illegal to do that, or prosecute you under race-based laws, which of course we shouldn't have any race-based laws in Australia. We shouldn't have the racism on TV. We shouldn't have the racism in the law. And the whole system is now packed with racism. And this is what they're claiming to protect us from, but they're actually promoting it. You don't get racism out in the streets. We all get on very well. We help each other, we do business together, we try to prosper together. And you just can't possibly fail to see our shared humanity and people talking and laughing and helping each other. And yet in the media, they're creating this division, like we all hate each other and we have to be protected from racism. But the racism is in the laws and it's in the media. And it's selectively prosecuted, of course, because some races can be demonized and other races can be protected under these outrageous laws, which should be repealed in my view. So we've been here for approximately 5 years to protect Julian Assange, basically not for committing any crimes, but for exposing crimes. Every person here is basically either in prison or being pursued by the authorities and the lawyers and the laws for exposing crimes. Not committing crimes, exposing crimes. Now, when exposing a crime, it is made into a crime by the junta or by the government, wherever it is in the world. You are living under a dictatorship. It's as simple as that. Because the hallmark of a free country and the hallmark of democracy is actually free speech and human rights. Now, we see these politicians, they come and wax lyrical about human rights. But look what they're doing. They're removing them. The COVID thing, the human right to have informed medical consent to any medical intervention or medical treatment. They wiped that out. They said basically, you know, if you don't take this medical treatment or these vaccinations, which I think anybody ought to know by now weren't sufficiently tested to know that they were safe, you're going to get sacked and you'll lose your job. You might even be a lawyer or a doctor who's invested 30 years in your career, and it becomes almost impossible to turn around and say, well, I'm never going to be a doctor again unless I vaccinate. This is effectively compulsion. They're saying, oh no, they had a choice. Yeah, they could commit financial suicide, or they could bend to the system. It's absolutely outrageous. They've committed crimes against humanity. These crimes against human rights that are being committed by public officials and the media, in my view, they should all be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. And we must not rest. We must not rest until we get these corrupt public officials in the dock and prosecuted with the evidence, proper expert evidence, proper lawyers, proper prosecutorial, public trials with juries. That's another thing, they're trying to remove juries. They are, in my opinion, they are trying to roll out autocracy all over the Western world, where everybody, more and more people are being controlled, totally controlled by vaccine passports, digital money. Just remember what they did to the Canadian truckers that refused to vaccinate. They shut their bank accounts. They rang up the insurance companies. This is Trudeau. Trudeau should be in prison for this. These are the most outrageous crimes against humanity, crimes against human rights. So it's very important everybody wakes up, tells their friends, tells their family. No more medical mandates when we don't approve, we don't agree to it. That's where I'm totally in favor of free choice, but I'm certainly not in favor of Big Brother telling people they've got to go undergo a medical intervention. Those shots could end up killing millions of people for all we know. We don't know yet. So also I'd like to finish on one little quote. If the government's afraid of the people, you've got democracy. If the people are afraid of the government, you've got tyranny. And that is the prospect we have at the moment. Thank you.
and 59th Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering. The minute hand on the Sydney Town Hall clock moves slowly. So slowly, its movement is imperceptible. No matter how intensely we look, we cannot see the minute hand move. Yet, over 2 hours that we are here, it will complete 2 full rotations of the clock face. Likewise, the erosion of our government's respect for human rights is so slow that most of us don't perceive it is happening. Yet, over the years, the Australian government's respect for human rights has declined markedly. After the Second World War, Australia was one of only 8 nations that drafted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which was adopted by the United Nations in 1948. Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, quote, "Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive and impart information and ideas through any media and regardless of frontiers," unquote. Yet this week, the Australian government is so removed from its obligation to respect human rights, it has fast-tracked the Combating Misinformation and Disinformation Bill, which, if passed by the Senate, will seriously interfere with our freedom of expression on social media. If the government doesn't agree with the opinions you express online, the social media platform you use will be required to prevent you speaking freely. In other public interest news, Richard Boyle, the man who blew the whistle over the heavy-handed tactics used by the Australian Taxation Office, has failed in his attempt to have vindictive charges brought against him dropped. He is being charged over the way he gathered evidence he used to demonstrate the wrongdoing of the Australian Taxation Office. Richard will be in the District Court of South Australia in Victoria Square in Adelaide this coming Monday, 11th of November, from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. He encourages people to show up, to respectfully demonstrate their support and to meet and talk with him after the hearing. Over in the United States of America, a divide and conquer extravaganza has concluded with many ecstatically happy people and many other irately disappointed people. Of course, it remains to be seen, but it appears that the parasite class has achieved exactly what it wanted to achieve. Specifically, many misguided people thinking they have an anti-establishment president. However, it appears that this president will be more likely to be a puppet who has the potential to bring in a mandatory digital ID under the guise of preventing voter fraud and stopping illegal immigration. We need to keep our minds positive. We need to be thinking of solutions rather than limiting our focus on the agenda of totalitarian tyranny. The presence of Julian Assange Sydney Town Hall gathering has created a free speech zone, which is encouraging people to think and speak freely in defence of their human rights and the human rights of others. On the 29th of this month, we will have been here for 5 years. During this time, our regular presence has become a Sydney landmark, with many people taking selfies with us. Free speech needs courage, particularly when it comes to freely telling public interest truth. The free speech zone we have created here at Sydney Town Hall is helping more and more people to gain the courage necessary for building a better world that is based on the truth. Courage is contagious. The Assange movement continues. Please join us. Free, free, free the truth. Free, free, free the truth. Free, free, free the truth. Thank you.